What if the very job you're working so hard to keep is the thing holding you back from the life you actually want? Imagine waking up one day realizing you've spent years building someone else's dream, not yours. That uncomfortable feeling in your gut, that's the entrepreneur inside you knocking, whispering, "There's more. You're meant for more." But here's the truth no one tells you. Quitting your job isn't the hard part. Surviving after you quit is. And that's where most people fail, not because they lack passion, but because they lack preparation. In Before You Quit Your Job, Robert Kiyosaki, the author behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad, breaks down the real, unfiltered journey of leaving the paycheck world and stepping into entrepreneurship. No sugarcoating, no motivational fluff, just the raw lessons he learned building multi-million-dollar companies and the painful mistakes he paid for so you don't have to. This book isn't about taking a leap of faith, it's about taking a calculated leap, understanding the skills, mindset, and realities that separate the wantpreneurs from the real entrepreneurs. From learning how to get paid for solving problems, to understanding the 3 types of money, to discovering why working for free might be your smartest move, Kiyosaki reveals the street-smart playbook schools never teach. So if you've ever sat at your desk thinking, there has to be a better way, this summary is for you. Because before you hand in that resignation letter, you need to hear what Kiyosaki learned the hard way, the lessons that can save you time, money, and years of frustration. Ready? Let's break down the 10 real-life lessons you need to know before you quit your job. Chapter 1 opens with one core idea. Employees and entrepreneurs think differently. At the most fundamental level, Robert Kiyosaki explains that the real barrier isn't money, education, or opportunity, it's mindset. And unless you understand this difference, you'll never be fully prepared to leave the safety of a paycheck. Kiyosaki starts by breaking down the employee mindset. Employees are trained to seek security, a steady income, predictable benefits, and clear instructions. They are rewarded for minimizing mistakes, following the system, and staying in their lane. From childhood, schools teach us to get good grades, find a good job, and work your way up. That conditioning shapes how most people think about risk and responsibility. Employees trade time for money and believe stability comes from working for a strong company. Their world is structured, and someone else makes the big decisions. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, live in a completely different reality. There are no guarantees, no steady paychecks, and no one telling them what to do next. Instead of avoiding risk, entrepreneurs learn to manage risk. Instead of seeking security, they seek opportunities. They understand that income is not fixed, it's created. Instead of trading time for money, they build systems that produce money even when they're not working. Kiyosaki makes it clear, this mindset shift is not easy. It's like rewiring your brain after decades of being taught to think like an employee. And this is where the first big warning appears. If you carry the employee mindset into entrepreneurship, you will struggle. You may try to build a business that feels safe or expect fast results, or panic when income becomes unpredictable. Entrepreneurship demands emotional resilience, not just technical skills. Another key point of the chapter is the difference in how both groups view problems. Employees often try to avoid problems. Entrepreneurs make money by solving them. An employee may think, "This is not my job." An entrepreneur thinks, "Every problem is a potential business." That shift creates a new way of seeing the world, one that rewards creativity and initiative, not obedience. Kiyosaki also introduces the idea of learning versus earning. Employees prioritize earning, the paycheck. Entrepreneurs prioritize learning, the skills, experiences, and insights that build long-term wealth. He shares that many of the lessons that made him a millionaire didn't come from comfortable jobs, but from experiences where he struggled, failed, experimented, and adapted. Entrepreneurs understand that the marketplace doesn't pay for degrees or resumes. It pays for value. Emotion plays a major role too. Employees often crave reassurance, a stable job, clear expectations, and predictable outcomes. Entrepreneurs must navigate uncertainty, fear, and external pressure, especially from people who think they're crazy for leaving a secure job. Kiyosaki stresses that emotional intelligence is more important than talent. If fear controls you, you'll run back to the paycheck. Chapter 1 ends with a simple but powerful message. Before you quit your job, be honest about your mindset. Are you prepared to think like an entrepreneur? Are you ready to take responsibility for everything? Sales, leadership, cash flow, failure? Are you willing to learn through mistakes instead of avoiding them? Kiyosaki isn't trying to scare people. He wants to make sure you're not entering the entrepreneurial world blind. Because the difference between employees and entrepreneurs isn't just about income. It's about how you see the world, how you solve problems, and how you define security and success. This chapter sets the foundation for the remaining lessons. If you master the mindset first, the technical skills will make sense later. Chapter 2 focuses on one of Robert Kiyosaki's most provocative ideas. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to become successful in business. In fact, he argues that many highly educated, highly intelligent people struggle as entrepreneurs, while people with average academic skills often win. The chapter is not an insult to intelligence. It's an explanation of why the traditional definition of smart doesn't guarantee success in the real world. Kiyosaki opens by describing two types of intelligence: school intelligence, the ability to memorize, follow instructions, and get good grades; street intelligence, the ability to take action, solve real problems, and learn from failure. According to him, entrepreneurship rewards the second type far more. In school, you're punished for mistakes. In business, mistakes are an essential part of learning. This is why some A students stay stuck in analysis paralysis, while C students, who are less afraid of being wrong, take the risks that lead to real opportunities. The chapter introduces a key theme. Entrepreneurs develop by doing, not by knowing. People who wait to know everything before starting often never start at all. Kiyosaki calls this the smart trap, the belief that more information automatically creates success. In reality, only action plus feedback leads to growth. He explains that many would-be entrepreneurs delay their dreams because they are afraid of looking foolish or making dumb mistakes, while those who accept imperfection move forward and improve faster. Kiyosaki emphasizes that business is a team sport. That means an entrepreneur doesn't need to personally be great at everything. They just need to know how to assemble a team of people who are smarter than they are in key areas. Employees often rely on their individual skills to earn promotions, but entrepreneurs rely on teamwork, leadership, and resourcefulness. This is why average people who build strong teams outperform geniuses who try to do everything alone. A major lesson in this chapter is the importance of confronting ignorance early. Kiyosaki explains that when he and his partner started in business, they made countless mistakes that might look dumb on the surface: poor marketing choices, bad hiring decisions, financial missteps, but each mistake taught them something they couldn't learn in a classroom. Their financial success came not because they avoided errors, but because they moved through them quickly and adapted. He contrasts this with people who cling to the belief that being smart is about having the right answers. In entrepreneurship, being smart is about asking the right questions and taking action even when the answers are unclear. Entrepreneurs grow through uncertainty, not certainty. Another theme of the chapter is ego. Kiyosaki points out that highly intelligent people often protect their ego by avoiding situations where they might look inexperienced. Yet business requires humility, a willingness to appear dumb temporarily in order to learn new skills. Many aspiring entrepreneurs fail because their ego won't allow them to start at the bottom, ask basic questions, or seek help from mentors. Kiyosaki ends the chapter with a direct message. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you must allow yourself to be a beginner again. You must be willing to look foolish, ask for guidance, and learn through trial and error. Intelligence does not create success. Adaptability, humility, and action do. Chapter 2 reinforces the idea that the path to entrepreneurship isn't reserved for the academically gifted. It's open to those who are persistent, emotionally resilient, and unafraid of learning through mistakes. Chapter 3 introduces one of Robert Kiyosaki's most misunderstood principles. Sometimes you must work for free to get rich later. He explains that most people are trained to work purely for a paycheck, and because of that, they make career decisions centered around short-term income instead of long-term skills. Entrepreneurship requires the opposite approach. Kiyosaki begins by breaking down the reason people resist working without pay. They were conditioned to believe that the purpose of work is to receive a guaranteed wage. This mindset makes sense for employees, but it becomes a barrier for anyone transitioning into business ownership. Entrepreneurs often spend months or even years building a product, a brand, or a customer base before any money comes in. If someone is mentally attached to instant compensation, they will quit long before the business becomes viable. He emphasizes that working for free is not exploitation, it's strategic learning. When Kiyosaki worked for free under his rich dad's mentorship, he wasn't giving away his time. He was gaining financial education, leadership skills, and real-world experience no school could offer. Those lessons became the foundation for his future companies. He points out that people who insist on immediate payment usually end up stuck in jobs where they only learn how to perform tasks, not how to create value. A key distinction he makes is between job security and skill security. Employees focus on job security, keeping the paycheck flowing. Entrepreneurs focus on skill security, developing abilities that can generate income regardless of employment. When you work for free strategically, you are trading short-term comfort for long-term capability. Kiyosaki also explains the powerful concept of the learning curve versus earning curve. Most people choose the earning curve. They select jobs that pay more now. Entrepreneurs select the learning curve. They choose roles, mentors, or environments that teach them sales, marketing, cash flow management, negotiation, and communication. These are the skills that ultimately produce wealth. According to Kiyosaki, the real mistake is staying in jobs that pay you money, but teach you nothing useful. For your entrepreneurial future, another core lesson in this chapter involves reducing financial pressure. Entrepreneurs who immediately chase revenue because they need money tend to make desperate decisions. They compromise on quality, overpromise to customers, or jump from idea to idea because survival is their main driver. Kiyosaki argues that by voluntarily entering situations where you work without expecting pay, you learn to operate without panic. You build resilience, creativity, and problem-solving skills, all critical traits for entrepreneurship. Kiyosaki also highlights the importance of apprenticeship in history. Apprentices worked for free or very low pay while learning a craft. The same logic applies to modern entrepreneurship. Learning from someone who has already succeeded is far more valuable than earning a salary under someone who hasn't built anything. He encourages readers to seek mentors, volunteer in projects that stretch their abilities, or join small businesses where they can observe decisions up close. The chapter also addresses ego. Many people refuse to work for free because they feel it is beneath them. Kiyosaki warns that this pride is dangerous. Entrepreneurship often requires starting small, doing unfamiliar tasks, or taking on roles outside your comfort zone. If your ego demands constant validation through a paycheck, you will struggle to build a business from scratch. Chapter 3 concludes with a clear message. Don't focus on what you're being paid. Focus on what you're becoming. Money comes later. Skills come first. And often, the fastest way to acquire the skills that make you wealthy is to temporarily remove the money equation and focus purely on learning. This chapter reframes working for free as an entrepreneurial investment, one that pays off only if you think long-term. Chapter 4 focuses on the fundamental difference between school intelligence and street intelligence, and why this gap becomes one of the biggest obstacles for people transitioning from employee life to entrepreneurship. Robert Kiyosaki argues that the traditional school system prepares people to be good employees, not business owners. Because of that, many aspiring entrepreneurs enter the business world equipped with the wrong type of intelligence. He begins by explaining what school smarts look like. Schools reward students for memorization, accurate answers, compliance, and avoiding mistakes. Students who perform well develop a mindset centered around perfection and predictability. They learn to fear failure because mistakes lead to penalties, lower grades, and criticism. This conditioning shapes how they later approach business. They overanalyze, delay decisions, avoid risk, and depend on external guidance. School smarts create people who excel under structure, but struggle when structure disappears. Entrepreneurship operates under a completely different logic. The market does not give you a syllabus, clear instructions, or guaranteed outcomes. This is where street smarts become essential. Street smarts involve the ability to adapt quickly, think independently, read real situations, and respond under uncertainty. Entrepreneurs must make decisions with incomplete information. They learn through trial and error, not textbooks. Kiyosaki emphasizes that in business, the person who learns fastest, not the person who scores highest, gains the advantage. A major point of the chapter is the value of learning from mistakes. Kiyosaki explains that many academically successful people struggle as entrepreneurs because they're trained to avoid being wrong. In contrast, street-smart individuals accept mistakes as part of the process. They fail, adjust, and try again. Entrepreneurship is not about being right all the time. It's about correcting mistakes faster than your competitors. Kiyosaki uses his own experience to illustrate the difference. When he and his partner Kim entered the business world, they had no formal business education. What made them succeed was not academic ability, but real-world adaptability. They learned from customers, from mentors, from financial losses, and from market reactions. Their willingness to experiment without fear allowed them to grow. While many intellectually smarter people avoided entrepreneurship because the unknown felt too risky, another key theme is the role of emotional intelligence. Street smarts require resilience, the ability to keep moving despite uncertainty, financial pressure, or criticism. Entrepreneurs must manage fear, stay calm under stress, and make decisions without guarantees. School smarts rarely test emotional strength because the environment is controlled and outcomes are predictable. Real business challenges emotional stability far more than intellectual capacity. Kiyosaki also highlights that school smarts can create overconfidence in theory. Many people believe that reading about business or taking classes is enough preparation. In reality, entrepreneurship requires practical skills that cannot be learned only through lectures. Selling, negotiating, managing cash flow, dealing with failure, understanding customer behavior, and leading people. These skills come only from real experience. He makes an important distinction. School smarts are not useless. They are simply incomplete for people who want to become entrepreneurs. Academic knowledge becomes valuable when combined with street smarts, because entrepreneurship requires both analysis and action. But if you have to choose, Kiyosaki argues that street smarts matter more. The chapter concludes with the central message: if you want to quit your job and start a business, you must shift from a school smart mindset to a street smart mindset. That means embracing uncertainty, taking responsibility, acting without perfect information, and learning through direct experience. Success in entrepreneurship depends on how well you adapt to the real world, not how well you performed in the classroom. Chapter 4 sets the stage for the upcoming lessons by reinforcing a simple truth. Business is learned in the streets, not in school. Chapter 5 delivers one of Robert Kiyosaki's strongest messages. Money is not silent. It communicates. And if you don't understand what it's saying, you will struggle as an entrepreneur. Most people think money is simply earned, saved, or spent. Entrepreneurs must understand money as a form of feedback, information, and guidance. Kiyosaki begins by explaining that employees and entrepreneurs hear money differently. Employees see money mainly as a reward for time and effort. They trade hours for dollars, and as long as the paycheck arrives, they believe they are on the right track. Entrepreneurs, however, view money as the marketplace's response to the value they create. If money is flowing in, their business model works. If it isn't, the market is signaling a problem that needs correction. One of the chapter's main insights is that the numbers never lie. Entrepreneurs often fall in love with their ideas, products, or plans. But the financial statements, cash flow, profit, expenses, sales tell the real story. Kiyosaki emphasizes that your emotions can lie to you, your friends can lie to you, even your own assumptions can lie to you. But money does not lie. If the cash flow is negative, the business is unhealthy. If customers aren't buying, the market is rejecting your offer. Money is the most honest feedback system in entrepreneurship. He also introduces the idea that most people avoid confronting what money is telling them. Employees rely on stable income, so they rarely examine how money truly works. When moving into business, This avoidance becomes dangerous. Entrepreneurs must face the numbers directly, even when the numbers are bad. Paying attention to financial signals early can prevent much larger losses later. Another key lesson in this chapter is the importance of financial literacy. Kiyosaki argues that many people want to start businesses, but cannot read financial statements well enough to understand what is happening inside their own company. They make decisions based on intuition instead of data. He stresses that entrepreneurs must learn how money flows through their business, how revenue is generated, where expenses leak, and how cash cycles affect stability. Without financial literacy, you cannot hear the language of money clearly. Kiyosaki also highlights the difference between being busy and being profitable. Many new entrepreneurs focus on activity, long hours, hectic schedules, constant tasks. But if these activities don't translate into profit, the business will not survive. Money reveals whether the activity actually matters. Entrepreneurs must continually ask, is this action producing value that the market is willing to pay for? The chapter discusses the role of emotions around money as well. Fear, greed, and denial often distort how people interpret money signals. Some entrepreneurs overspend because they expect future success to cover it. Others underinvest because they fear losing what little they have. Emotional reactions can drown out the message the numbers are sending. Kiyosaki advises entrepreneurs to develop emotional discipline so they can make decisions based on financial truth, not panic or excitement. Another important idea is what he calls the cash flow mirror. Your business's cash flow is a reflection of your strengths, weaknesses, decisions, and habits. If the cash flow is unstable, it reflects instability in your strategy or management. If cash flow is strong, it reflects product market fit, customer satisfaction, and effective systems. The numbers reveal whether you are operating like a real entrepreneur or still thinking like an employee. The chapter concludes with a powerful reminder: before you quit your job, learn to listen to money. If you cannot read financial statements, if you ignore cash flow patterns, or if you rely on hope instead of financial data, entrepreneurship will feel chaotic and unpredictable. But if you understand the language of money, it becomes your strongest tool for making smart decisions. Chapter 5 sets up the foundation for the next chapter by establishing that money is information, and mastering that information is essential for building a successful business. Chapter 6 introduces one of the most important frameworks in the book: the 3 kinds of money entrepreneurs must master: earned income, portfolio income, and passive income. Robert Kiyosaki explains that many people want to quit their job and start a business without understanding how money actually works. This chapter clarifies why entrepreneurs fail financially and how real wealth is created. Kiyosaki begins by identifying the first type: earned income. This is the income employees rely on, trading time and labor for a paycheck. It's the most heavily taxed form of money and the one with the least leverage. Earned income depends on your physical presence. If you stop working, it stops coming in. Kiyosaki explains that most people try to start businesses while still thinking like employees. They focus on how to earn more instead of how to build systems that generate money without their direct effort. The second type is portfolio income, which comes from investments, stocks, bonds, real estate appreciation, or buying and selling assets. Portfolio income grows as your financial intelligence grows. Kiyosaki emphasizes that entrepreneurs who only focus on their business but ignore investing usually miss out on long-term wealth. He warns that many business owners run their companies just well enough to pay themselves a salary, which is still earned income, but never learn to move money into investment vehicles that build true financial freedom. The third type, and the most powerful, is passive income. This is income generated from assets that produce cash flow: rental properties, royalties, intellectual property, businesses with strong systems, or investments that yield consistent returns. Kiyosaki stresses that passive income is the goal of entrepreneurship. A business becomes an asset only when it produces passive income. Otherwise, it's just a job disguised as a company. Too many entrepreneurs create businesses that trap them. They work harder than before, earn inconsistently, and never reach financial independence. A key message in this chapter is that all three types of money require different skills. Earned income requires job skills. Portfolio income requires investment skills. Passive income requires the ability to build and manage systems. Kiyosaki explains that most people fail because they try to use job skills to achieve passive income goals. They want freedom without learning the financial and managerial skills that make freedom possible. Entrepreneurship demands understanding how money flows across these three categories and how to transition from one to the next. He uses his own career as an example. Early on, he relied on earned income from small ventures. As he grew, he learned to allocate profits into portfolio investments like real estate. Eventually, these investments produced passive income, enough to become financially free. He highlights that this progression wasn't accidental, it was strategic. Entrepreneurs must intentionally design pathways that move money from active efforts into passive producing assets. Another lesson in the chapter is the importance of financial strategy before quitting your job. Many people leave their jobs too soon, believing their business will instantly replace their salary. Kiyosaki argues that you must first understand how your future business will generate passive income, not just earned income. If your business relies solely on your personal work, you've simply built another job for yourself. The goal is to build systems, teams, and processes that allow money to flow without your constant involvement. Kiyosaki also warns about cash flow blindness, the habit of looking only at revenue while ignoring the type of money being created. A business generating high earned income but zero passive income may look successful on paper, but remains unstable. Entrepreneurs must ask, is this income scalable? Is it sustainable? Is it dependent on me? If the answer is yes, the business is not yet an asset. Chapter 6 concludes with a clear directive. To succeed as an entrepreneur, you must shift from working for money to building assets that produce money. Understanding the three kinds of income is the foundation for financial freedom. This chapter sets the stage for Chapter 7 by emphasizing that a real business must be designed to grow beyond the owner. Otherwise, it will never become a true asset. Chapter 7 explains the critical difference between running a small business and building a big business, and why most entrepreneurs get stuck at the small business level. Robert Kiyosaki makes it clear that the mindset and skill set required to launch a business are not the same as the ones required to scale it. He starts with a core concept. Most small businesses fail because they are built around the owner, not around a system. Small businesses rely heavily on the owner's time, knowledge, and decisions. When the owner stops working, the business stops functioning. Kiyosaki calls these owner-dependent businesses. They give the illusion of entrepreneurship, but in reality they trap the owner in an endless workload. These businesses can survive, but they cannot grow. To move from small to big business, an entrepreneur must shift from doing the work to building systems that do the work. Big businesses operate through processes, teams, and scalable models. The leaders focus on strategy, financial design, and vision, not daily tasks. Kiyosaki emphasizes that this transition requires a major shift in identity. From technician to architect, one of the key frameworks in the chapter is the business level progression. Level 1, the self-employed stage. The owner does most of the work. Revenue depends on personal effort. Most new entrepreneurs start here. Level 2, the small business stage. The owner hires helpers, but the operation still centers around the owner's decisions. There may be employees, but the owner remains the primary engine. Level 3, the big business stage. Systems, not individuals, run the business. The company can scale, expand, and operate without the founder's daily involvement. Kiyosaki stresses that the gap between Level 2 and Level 3 is where most entrepreneurs fail. The reason is simple: scaling requires letting go. Many founders cling to control, resist delegation, or fear that others won't do the job as effectively. But if everything must pass through the owner, the business cannot grow beyond the owner's capacity. A major theme is the importance of leveraging other people's talents, not trying to master every role. Entrepreneurs must build teams of individuals who are smarter and more skilled in specialized areas: finance, operations, marketing, sales, technology. Small businesses collapse when the founder tries to be the accountant, the marketer, the salesperson, and the manager. Big businesses succeed because the founder focuses on assembling and leading the right people. Another crucial element is access to capital. Kiyosaki explains that big businesses require resources, and expansion usually involves outside money. Many small business owners fear debt or avoid investors because they want full control. Kiyosaki argues that capital is a tool used strategically. It can accelerate growth and build long-term value. Entrepreneurs must understand financing, cash flow management, and investor relations if they want to scale effectively. He also introduces the rule: if your business cannot scale, it will struggle to survive long-term. Markets change, competition increases, and costs rise over time. If a business cannot expand to create stronger cash flow and broader reach, it becomes vulnerable. Scaling is not optional, it's essential for survival. The chapter highlights the importance of designing the business as if it will one day be a large company, even if it's small today. That means documenting procedures, establishing standards, building predictable revenue models, and training employees to operate without constant supervision. Systems create consistency, efficiency, and repeatability, the core components of a scalable company. Kiyosaki wraps the chapter with a central message: you can't grow a business if you refuse to stop being the business. The entrepreneur's real job is not to work harder, but to build an organization that works, even when they step away. Chapter 7 prepares readers for later lessons about leadership and vision. By establishing a non-negotiable truth, big businesses are built through systems, teams, and financial intelligence, not individual effort. Chapter 8 explains one of the most misunderstood parts of entrepreneurship: the true role of a business leader. Robert Kiyosaki emphasizes that many small business owners fail because they confuse being busy with being a leader, or because they continue thinking like employees instead of shifting into the leadership mindset required to grow a real company. Kiyosaki begins by stating that leadership is not about doing more tasks or solving every problem personally. The job of an entrepreneur is to create a vision, build systems, and develop people who can execute that vision. A leader focuses on direction, not day-to-day execution. When founders stay stuck in operational work, the business becomes limited by their personal capacity. Real leadership means stepping above the work and guiding the organization toward long-term goals. A central theme of the chapter is the difference between managing and leading. Managers maintain processes, leaders design and improve them. Managers work inside the system, leaders work on the system. Many entrepreneurs mistake management for leadership and get trapped doing tasks instead of guiding the team. Kiyosaki stresses that you don't grow a business by doing more work, you grow it by becoming the person who sets the mission, direction, and cultural standards. Kiyosaki introduces the idea of the 3 essential leadership responsibilities. Designing the business model, leaders must understand how the company makes money, how it delivers value, and how it will scale. This involves strategy, financial awareness, and constant refinement. If the business model is weak, no amount of hard work will fix it. Building strong systems, a leader develops processes that produce consistent results. Systems are the foundation of a scalable company. Without them, the business depends too heavily on individuals and collapses when key people leave or burn out. Developing people, leaders grow other leaders. That includes hiring the right people, training them, delegating responsibility, and creating an environment where they can thrive. A company rises or falls based on the quality of its people, and developing talent is one of the leader's highest duties. Another important point in the chapter is the concept of context versus content. Employees focus on content, tasks, instructions, duties. Leaders focus on context, the bigger picture, the why, and the long-term outcomes. Kiyosaki explains that people who remain stuck in content thinking will never scale their businesses because they're too absorbed in details to see strategic opportunities. Leadership requires elevating your perspective. Kiyosaki also highlights communication as a key leadership skill. A leader must be able to clearly express the company vision, values, and priorities so the entire team moves in the same direction. Miscommunication leads to misalignment, wasted resources, and poor execution. Entrepreneurs must learn to communicate with clarity, confidence, and consistency. The chapter also discusses the emotional side of leadership. Entrepreneurs must remain calm under pressure, make decisions without full information, and stay committed to the mission even when results are uncertain. Employees can rely on stability. Leaders must create stability for others. Emotional resilience becomes a competitive advantage. Kiyosaki warns that many entrepreneurs sabotage their own businesses by refusing to delegate or by micromanaging their team. This behavior signals insecurity and prevents others from growing. True leadership requires trusting the systems you've built and trusting the people you've chosen to run them. He closes the chapter with a core message. The business grows only when the leader grows. If the entrepreneur does not evolve mentally, emotionally, and strategically, the company will hit a ceiling. Leadership is not optional. It's the engine of business growth. Chapter 8 reinforces that the entrepreneur's real job is not to do the work, but to create the environment where the work can succeed through vision, systems, teams, and consistent leadership. Chapter 9 focuses on a simple but essential truth of entrepreneurship. A business survives only when it consistently attracts the right customers. Robert Kiyosaki explains that most new entrepreneurs spend their time perfecting products, designing logos, or refining operations, but they fail because they don't understand who their real customers are or how to reach them. Kiyosaki begins by highlighting a distinction many first-time business owners misunderstand. Not every customer is a good customer. Some customers drain time, negotiate endlessly, demand discounts, or create chaos. Others provide repeat business, pay on time, and help the company grow. The key is learning to identify and attract customers who align with your business model, values, and long-term goals. He emphasizes that the marketplace rewards value creation, not effort. Entrepreneurs often believe their product is excellent, but the only judgment that matters is the market's response. If the product doesn't solve a real problem or deliver real benefits, customers won't buy no matter how much passion or work the entrepreneur puts in. Good customers appear when the business provides real value to a clearly defined audience. A major theme in this chapter is understanding customer psychology. Instead of guessing what people want, successful entrepreneurs spend time studying customer behavior, motivations, and frustrations. Kiyosaki advises entrepreneurs to talk directly to potential customers, observe patterns, and pay attention to what people actually spend money on, not what they say they want. Real insight comes from listening to the market, not assuming you already know the answers. Another key concept is the importance of testing before scaling. Kiyosaki urges entrepreneurs to validate their ideas with small, low-risk experiments before investing heavily. Testing helps reveal who the real paying customers are, what price point works, and what marketing messages resonate. Many small businesses fail because they try to grow before confirming demand. Kiyosaki also stresses the role of marketing and sales skills. Entrepreneurs who dislike selling or marketing often struggle, not because their product is bad, but because they cannot communicate its value effectively. He reminds readers that selling is not manipulation, it's helping customers see how a product solves their problem. Good customers emerge when the entrepreneur learns how to market transparently, explain benefits clearly, and build trust. The chapter also introduces the idea of customer tiers. Some customers buy occasionally, some buy regularly, and a small group becomes loyal champions who promote the business to others. Entrepreneurs should focus on cultivating this top tier because they provide the highest lifetime value. Good customers become repeat customers, and repeat customers form the foundation of stable cash flow. Kiyosaki closes the chapter with a clear message. Finding the right customers is not luck, it's strategy. Entrepreneurs must understand their market, test assumptions, deliver real value, and communicate that value effectively. When these elements align, good customers appear naturally. Chapter 9 reinforces that entrepreneurship is not just about building a good product. It's about building a customer base that sustains and grows the business. The summary chapter brings together all of Robert Kiyosaki's core lessons. From before you quit your job, emphasizing what aspiring entrepreneurs must understand before they leave the world of paychecks and step into the world of business. Kiyosaki makes it clear, entrepreneurship is rewarding, but only for those who come prepared with the right mindset, skills, and expectations. He begins by reinforcing the book's central theme. The transition from employee to entrepreneur is primarily a shift in mindset, not just career choice. Employees seek security, structure, and predictable income. Entrepreneurs operate in uncertainty and create value from opportunities, not instructions. Without making this internal transition, no amount of passion or planning will make the business succeed. Kiyosaki then revisits the idea that entrepreneurship requires embracing risk, mistakes, and constant learning. Employees are trained to avoid errors, but business owners grow through trial and error. Mistakes are not signs of failure, they're indicators of progress. Kiyosaki stresses that those who fear being wrong or looking foolish will struggle in the entrepreneurial environment, where real-world feedback is relentless. He summarizes the importance of street smarts over school smarts. Academic intelligence helps, but real entrepreneurial success comes from action, adaptability, and emotional resilience. Entrepreneurs need the humility to learn on the go and the courage to act without complete information. The chapter reminds readers that business is a dynamic, real-time process, not an academic exercise. Another major point in the summary is the importance of the three kinds of income: earned, portfolio, and passive. Kiyosaki reinforces that building a business is ultimately about creating passive income, money that continues flowing even when the entrepreneur isn't working. Many people quit their jobs only to build another job for themselves inside their own company. The real goal is to build systems that generate income independently of the owner's daily labor. He also restates the critical difference between small and big businesses. Small businesses rely on the owner. Big businesses rely on systems. The summary warns readers, if you cannot build systems, teams, and scalable processes, your business will remain stuck in the self-employed stage. Kiyosaki urges aspiring entrepreneurs to design their companies as if they will one day be large, even if they start tiny. Leadership is another key component highlighted in the summary. Kiyosaki reminds readers that the entrepreneur's job is not to do all the work, but to set the vision, design the model, and build the people who operate the business. Leadership involves communication, emotional control, strategic thinking, and the ability to inspire others. Without leadership growth, the business cannot grow. The chapter also reinforces the importance of listening to money. Financial statements, cash flow patterns, and market responses provide the most accurate feedback on whether the business model works. Hope, passion, and hard work mean nothing if the money tells a different story. Entrepreneurs must develop financial literacy early, long before quitting their job. A major takeaway is the value of good customers. Kiyosaki stresses that not all customers contribute equally to business success. Entrepreneurs must focus on delivering value, testing the market, and building relationships with customers who align with the company's mission. And pricing structure. The quality of customers matters just as much as the quality of the product. Kiyosaki ends the summary with a direct message. Do not quit your job until you are mentally, emotionally, financially, and strategically prepared. Quitting too early can destroy potential, preparation skills, systems, financial literacy. Resilience makes entrepreneurship sustainable. The final insight is that entrepreneurship is not about escaping a job. It's about stepping into a role that demands growth, creativity, responsibility, and vision. Those who prepare properly gain freedom. Those who don't face struggle. The summary ties all the lessons together, reminding readers that building a successful business is a long-term commitment, guided by mindset, skill development, financial intelligence, and disciplined leadership. If you found value in this breakdown and you want to keep leveling up your money mindset, don't leave just yet. Make sure you hit that like button so YouTube knows this is the kind of content worth sharing. And if you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we drop powerful book summaries and real-world financial lessons every single week. Most people scroll past videos like this and stay stuck in the same financial loop. But you You watched all the way through, and that already puts you ahead of the pack. So keep the momentum going. Drop a comment below and tell me, what was your biggest takeaway from this book? Your insight might help someone else who's just starting their financial journey. And if you want deeper breakdowns, action guides, and behind-the-scenes recommendations, check the links in the description. I've put together some extra tools to help you apply these ideas in real life. Thanks for watching. Thanks for learning. And remember, your financial freedom starts with one new thought, one new habit, one new decision. See you in the next video.